Welcome back to my channel. How y'all doing this Saturday afternoon? Oh, I gotta take this hair out. She got it stuck so in there I can't get it out. But anyway, I had to go to a funeral today. It was one of the saddest things I experienced. But the joy of the Lord is my strength. And that's all I can say. You know. Mm. Anywho, um, this video is on Alvin Bragg. Now, you know, him and Letitia James out of New York City built their careers on prosecuting President Trump on these trumped up charges. And if you ever watched them, you would know what I'm saying is true. If not, you just go ahead and believe the fake news, you know, because you actually got to watch and read the stuff for yourself to find out the truth and then form your own opinion. So, but he is backed by George Soros, who hates America, who has an open society foundation. He believes in open borders and actually is being brought in front of Congress. He was subpoenaed to testify. This is going to be real interesting because George Soros, Illuminati himself. And I'll be doing a video on his old ass because he about 94. Um, So I'm just gonna do this video. Oh shoot, I gotta be out of here in an hour. So I'm gonna be doing this real quick. So here's an update on Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney. So he asked a federal court to delay proceedings in a case he's prosecuting for Etton Pat's case. He wants the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn a ruling granting a new trial for Pedro Hernandez, who was convicted of murder in '79 with the disappearance of Eaton Press. This is going to be interesting because I didn't know that was on their jacket because everything on their jacket been because Trump got everybody soon. So in December 2024, Bragg's office argued against Donald Trump's request to dismiss his hush money conviction based on presidential immunity, stating that presidential immunity doesn't apply, and suggesting the case could be put on hold during his term if needed. Supreme Court overturned that, and that's why Judge Mashan blatantly decided to sentence him as just whatever on right before a week before his inauguration. Nobody expected him to win but God. In July 2025, the American First Policy Institute filed a lawsuit against Bragg for allegedly withholding public records potentially related to the prosecution of Donald Trump, according to the Institute. If y'all vote this man back in, he is crooked and corrupt. He's awful. Bragg's office was seeking to extend a gag order imposed on Trump during the hush money trial, argues necessary to protect jurors and court staff from threats. It's over and done with. That was overturned by the Supreme Court as well. Bragg was the first elected as Black Manhattan District Attorney in November 2021. I hope y'all don't reelect him because he is a-hole. He faced early criticism for a memo outlining policies on prosecution, but later adjusted some of these policies and has focused on various types of cases. Oh my God. You just deliberately, Max, you just deliberately threw that on the floor. I saw you. Damn. You just deliberately did that shit. deliberately did that. Not my little, the damn cat. So he helped prosecute Harvey Weinstein, which they say he could be sentenced next month. I thought he was. Oh, because he was retrial. Oh, let me get this together. So he's going to be resentenced next month. Because he was already retried. And they ended up dropping one of the charges. Oh, let me get this information. Oh, the jury was not able to reach a conclusion in June. Oh, so he gonna be retried again for the third time? Oh wow. Oh yeah, I need to redo this. So now I don't know if y'all know. So Trump's attorneys is appealing the hush money case that Alvin Bragg brought against him. So they saying that they're appealing his 34 counts of falsifying business records. That's what he was pleaded guilty for. Didn't plead guilty, but that's what this was about. $130,000. Arguing case should be moved to federal jurisdiction. Trump was convicted last May for Stormy Daniels. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg opposes the move, while Trump's attorneys claim the unprecedented prosecution belongs in federal court, where Justice Department could dismiss it. Trump's legal team argues that evidence used at the trial should have been withheld under the Supreme Court's immunity decision. These arguments, so it's on appeal. In addition to this appeal, Trump has also contested $83 million verdict in defamation case and civil fraud, where he owes New York State over $500 million, and he gonna win that. So that's basically who Alvin Bragg is. So I just want to give you a synopsis on who he is. He is awful. That's my opinion. So once Trump won office, Trump seeking some revenge, Trump strips the security clearance of numerous antagonists, including New York Attorney General Letitia James, and we're going to get off into that helper, and DA Alvin Bragg. President Trump has ordered security clearance stripped in a new hit list of antagonists, just days after revoking Joe Biden's access to classified information. And secure federal bill because I don't trust him, Trump said to his new top target is ex-Secretary Attorney Anthony Blinken, who orchestrated the dirty 51 letter from former intelligence that he didn't even write. So that was proven Trump didn't write that. Then faces massive falsely claimed that Hunter Biden's laptop, the contents of which the Post revealed was Russian disinformation, which turned out to be a lie. Trump was vindicated on that. Blinken's security clearance will be revoked following the same presidential directive aimed at Biden and 51 Ex-spooks. New York Attorney General Letitia James and Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg joined the new group of 8 Democrats foes Trump plans to punish by revoking any access to classified information and barring their entry to federal facilities. Wow. The president said they will be given exactly the same punishment as Biden and the Dirty 51 as part of his administration's vow to hold government officials accountable for actions he regards as election interference or mishandling of classified information. Bragg prosecuted Trump last year in the hush money case, and James brought a civil fraud case against the president for exaggerating his wealth when applying for bank loans, where there was no victim, and he paid the loan back. And Deutsche Bank said they would do business with him again. But it can hamper them in carrying out their official duties by prohibiting them from entering courthouses, prisons, and law enforcement facilities in Foley Square in Lower Manhattan, including Thurgood Marshall and Daniel Practice Mahan courthouses, the Metropolitan Correctional Center, and the Jacob Javits Federal Building, which houses the FBI's New York field office. The other targets were Biden's former national security Jake Sullivan and, of course, Hillary Clinton. He revoked their access. Biden's de- deputy attorney general Lisa Monaco was also her clearance was removed. She also helped orchestrated the Russian hoax. Next in line, anti-Trumpist Andrew Weissman, the lead prosecutor in the special counsel of the Robert Mueller's Russiagate investigation, along with MSNBC contributor Mark Zayed, Eric Clamalia, Zelensky, Norm Easton. He revoked all their clearances. Yeah, he just kicked it off today. He was sitting right there and he just slid it off.
Who, Max?
Max.
So it was like right here, and he.
Yes.
Was it a good one?
Yes, it was the teapot where you put the oil in.
So, did you whoop him?
No. He's a wacky partisan guy tweeted after Trump was inaugurated that it was time for a coup. He makes his money during Republican presidents by going against the administration. Trump last week cut off Biden's access to daily intelligence briefings normally afforded former presidents before stripping his security. He ain't gonna remember what he read, no way. The Post, he doesn't trust his predecessor with sensitive information. He told the Post his administration had no plans to investigate his predecessor, while noting that Biden did not pardon himself when he pardoned his son Hunter and 6 other family members. I won't do it specifically. If something comes up, he'll certainly prime time for investigation. It's not good what he did to our country. I mean, all this work we're doing now with getting illegal aliens out, finding murderers on the street, all of this that we're doing is because of him allowing people to come into our country. Well, he right about that. All right, we're done with that. Video time. So hopefully, shoot, because I'm gonna have to okay, let's get into it. Alvin Bragg, here we go.
Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day. We're waiting for those tubes to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we get started, because we've got some serious business to attend to today. The clock is ticking. Sentencing for Trump scheduled for this Friday. Trump now knocking on the door of the Supreme Court to say, can you please stop this madness? This is lunacy. Alvin, Bragg, and Judge Merchan and the judges in the New York court's appellate system are all colluding to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power, crossing the legal line that's been laid down by the Supreme Court of these United States. And so let's do a quick preview on what is coming up. We had an announcement shared over from Mike Davis from Stephen Chung, Trump's spokesman, who explained that Trump has filed an emergency petition at the Supreme Court, and there's already been an order from the court on this. But we're going to read through what the petition has inside. You can see 51 pages of deliciousness coming from Todd Blanche and Emil Bove saying, Your Honors, at SCOTUS, you have to stop what Merchan is doing, demanding a stay of the upcoming sentencing. So we'll see what Judge Sotomayor has already said about this, because she issued a response, and we'll have some more updates on that coming tomorrow. But simultaneous with this case, we're also in the 11th Circuit. You can see this docket is also jamming, and we're waiting for something to drop any minute, because Trump's team has been ordered to respond by 5 o'clock today Eastern time. So we're waiting for something to come skidding in here on that. But two other items were
y'all stop.
Nada's response and his request to stay this release of the Jack Smith fake book report, saying all that has to be stopped. Jack Smith is not a real boy. He stole $30 to $50 million of American taxpayer funds, and now he's trying to get the benefit of that, of being an illegal prosecutor, by releasing a bunch of sensitive information that he's not entitled to. And so Trump's defense, really Walt and Carlos de Oliveira, in conjunction with Trump, are now appealing in the 11th Circuit. And I've got several of those documents pulled up, including the government's response, where they're saying exactly what we predicted they'd say yesterday when they started doing this volume 1, volume 2 crap. Now they're saying they can bifurcate the two, release one, withhold the other, because Judge Cannon doesn't have jurisdiction over them. So all that's coming up. I've got clips from Pete Aguilar, who's a liar, so we'll see how he's lying today. And then we got Kinzinger, who looks like he's bloated, man. Wait till this pops up right here. Look at this guy.
That was
All right, come on, show us. Come on. All right. There it is. Look at him. I don't know what's going on.
It was Judge Merchan and who? Oh,
And
Jack
so,
Smith.
seeing what he's up to today, coming up very soon. And so we got a bunch of good stuff to get to. Very glad that you're here. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for subscribing all the time. As the court is held in other related contexts, whether the litigation may go forward is precisely what the Court of Appeals must decide. That's from the Coinbase case, which they spent a lot of time on in the automatic stay portion of their argument. It is, in fact, common practice. We enter automatic stays all the time. And Trump, for the reasons we just discussed, is entitled to both types of stays. He's, first of all, appealing at an interlocutory level, and he deserves an automatic stay as a matter of federal constitutional law. All of that is going to be binding to New York courts based on the Supremacy Clause. And moreover, the stay that Trump is seeking on the sentencing is very consistent with New York law, too. It's common there. Their appellate courts routinely stay criminal proceedings all the time. Trump is invoking that authority, too. It is therefore wrong and, in fact, astonishing and improper that New York courts have denied President Trump the basic procedural protection
Facts.
routinely granted to other criminal defendants. It's almost like they're abusing their office.
Facts.
Now, to be sure, President Trump raises again presidential immunity claims after trial and before sentencing, because the two key developments on which they are based, which is the Supreme Court case and Trump's election,
Facts.
both of those occurred after the trial. That's why we're bringing them up. You came back down. We already lodged our objections 4 times and said, you have to stop this because we're raising immunity. The judge didn't do that. Then the Supreme Court came back down and we said, see, I told you so.
Yep.
and then Trump won the election in the aftermath.
Facts.
That's a lot of changes. But the fact that Trump is seeking an interlocutory review before sentencing doesn't undermine his demand for an automatic stay. If anything, it shows us exactly why we need a stay. As this court and others have emphasized, presidential immunity protects the president from the entire suit. It's not just various stages of the suit. It's the whole thing. Trump must be afforded the opportunity to litigate his claim on appeal before these proceedings can move forward ahead, because it's based on immunity, not some other issue. Okay, if it's another issue, if you're like, well, I think that evidence was improperly admitted but not on immunity, then the courts will say, well, you can deal with that on appeal after the conclusion of the trial and the sentencing. But immunity introduces this extra powerful force field. The president, if you're going to criminal sentencing, it's the most extreme example of the president, quote, having to answer for his conduct in court. Again, using the Supreme Court's words, getting it right back to them, said, we're just asking you to do what you said we need to do. The New York court's insistence on holding a criminal sentencing before Trump gets into office are resolved. It reflects the justice of the Queen of Hearts. Sentence first, verdict afterwards. From Alice in Wonderland. Took me a minute. What are we reading right now? Now, in sum, the question, which is whether a president of the United States is entitled to an automatic stay, is a significant question. New York is in direct contradiction of the Supreme Court, and they're in contradiction of other federal courts as well. This warrants your review and an immediate stay of the trial court proceedings. Now, as we continue, Trump's team at the Supreme Court tell us what they're trying to do here, Your Honor, is contradict you. You're not going to like those. They say the two substantive questions here are as follows, and these are major issues. First, they repeatedly admitted evidence of Trump's official acts. This question warrants review because it is the opposite of what you said we must do. During the trial, Alvin Bragg offered evidence of Trump's ex-posts, talked about presidential conduct in that. And we know that the president is allowed to talk to the people. Now, even if the public communications solely address attacks on the president's conduct, that doesn't undermine their official nature. Okay, so even if Trump is out there like ranting about some hack journalist or whatever, it's still official. A public official's statements defending his character and reputation are well-known official acts. Even in Clinton versus Jones, his public denials of allegations of misconduct would fall within the outer perimeter of his responsibilities. Except Trump got sued for that when he was rejecting E. Jean Carroll's insane story. Yeah, they sued him for like $100 million. Right. Similarly, the D.C. court held that a congressman acted within the scope of his employment when he discussed his marital status in office during regular business hours. I wonder who that was. Now here, the trial court admitted tweets that the president made. Those are clearly official communications from his public office about matters of public concern. He's defending his reputation and his honor against scandalous lies. And they said, well, the tweets don't fit the mold because they were entirely personal in nature and they did not advance a policy concern or other public interest, said the judge, and allowed them to come in as evidence against Trump. He's allowed to make those communications, and having a president who is not attacked with slanderous lies is a policy interest of the public. Facts. That's why Trump is allowed to respond to them. Nah, it doesn't count. I don't want him in there. Now, this reasoning, they say, is in full violation of what you said, Supreme Court. These public communications are from Trump himself through his social media account. And it's against his First Amendment rights of free speech. You should be able to defend your character against slanderous rumors. Anybody. Routinely commented to the public about this. Those were clearly official actions of the president, and they cannot be used against him. Wow, we got a little typo here. When he communicated with the public on Twitter during his presidency, President Rump, no, someone's getting busted for that. this is that Jack Smith is telling us what their strategy
Okay,
is.
I'm not talking.
The Attorney General lacks all authority, premised on either unapplicable.
The good news is, I'm a great grandfather. As of today, I was granddaughter.
Well, we don't care what he got to say. Okay, let me move on. Let's smash Alvin Bragg. Oh shoot, I went past it. I went past the doggone thing. Oh, I went way past the damn thing. Okay, here we go. Alvin Bragg
is 32-year-old Brian Chin. He is a 32-year-old Chinatown landlord who is recently facing serious felony assault charges after a homeless person decided to attack him with a piece of wood that had nails in it, and he was able to successfully defend himself against said homeless person. Now, the entire incident was captured on video. Chin was clearly acting in self-defense. However, District Attorney Alvin Bragg decided to charge him with serious felony charges, ruin 5 months of his life, and due to the fact that he was facing those criminal charges, he actually lost a teaching position that he had at Harvard because he could no longer pass the criminal background check. So essentially, this man's life was irreparably harmed for a case that obviously had no actual ability to be prosecuted, because months later, after desperately trying to nail Chin to the wall, Alvin Bragg was forced to drop the charges because the homeless man obviously was the aggressor in that situation. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Sean, and we're going to break down this case. We're going to break down the damage involved in this particular case, and unsurprisingly, you are going to discover that the upstanding self-defender in this situation faced all of the consequences for his actions, while the criminal with a repeat criminal history was able to escape the same responsibility. But before we get into that, I will remind you that there are many victims of the California wildfire.
And also, Alvin Bragg prosecuted Daniel Perry. He was the Samaritan who put the homeless man in a chokehold, who threatened to hurt people on that subway train. And they did it as being racially motivated. And he prosecuted Daniel Perry, who was acquitted of those charges.
Not just for the homeless vagrant that could have been dead due to an OD, but of course due to past experiences that he has had with his own tenants. Now, according to the New York Post, Chin said he's more angry than relieved because this is something that never should have happened. I was treated like a violent perpetrator in the eyes of the law, and it has been 5 months of unending waking nightmare. I woke up every day thinking I would spend years in jail when I never committed a crime. This was a case that from the very beginning should have never been brought, Chin said, adding that he had to resign from his teaching position because he could no longer pass a background check. What was this for? It upended my life, everything I spent decades working for. Now, of course, like I said in the beginning, Chin's original motivation for checking in on this guy was the fact that he was worried that he OD'd. However, based on the crazed reaction that he got from this individual, Chin remained outside because he was worried that this guy could be violent to someone. By the way, a worry that was proven to be true. And this was also not based on nothing. You see, a previous tenant of Chin, a Korean woman who was about 25, a Rutgers student, was actually murdered in his building, and she was followed up the flight of stairs by a homeless vagrant and stabbed 40 times. And unsurprisingly, that murder, the murder of one of Chin's tenants, the bloody, grisly murder of one of his tenants, was committed by a person who was homeless, who of course had a repeat violent criminal history, who didn't show up to court, that Alvin Bragg and bail reform protected time and time again until ultimately it ended up leading to the death of somebody. Again, never forget, when these people talk about the benefits of progressive prosecutors, when they talk about the benefits of laws like bail reform, what they actually mean is that the criminals, the perpetrators, the people who, like that homeless person who killed that Korean woman, never showed up to court for his previous crimes. They get unlimited.
4:30. I'm about to leave out in 10 minutes.
And then the average everyday citizen is forced to be victimized by that person.
Yeah. He need to go. And I need to go too. So shoot. Let me see how far I can get on into this. It's gonna be a part 2 as usual. I'm mad at you for you just knocked that thing right off my table. Dang, this say February. Oh, that's the 11th. Lord, that's the 11th. I thought it was February. Shoot, I'm gonna have to get out of here. Dang, I was on the wrong date. Of course, I passed it. Okay, here we go.
Things are moving so much faster than I ever expected. And if I was one of these lawyers that's been engaging in lawfare over the past 4 to 8 years, I'd really be wondering by now if I should start packing my bags and looking for a flight out of here. Especially after what the Trump administration just dropped yesterday. And y'all know from my last Fannie Willis video, she's not getting spared the ruler of justice either. If y'all pair what the Trump administration just did with Pam Bondi's DOJ announcing investigations into Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Jack Smith, the Gambit, Dude, this is getting serious. The best part is these might not even be the most interesting names on this list. I'm interested in what you guys think. Is this karma what we're witnessing right now?
Yeah.
While the walls are closing in on these corrupt prosecutors, Democrats like John Fetterman are getting their 15 minutes of fame.
Why is the Democratic Party viewed as toxic by so many? Like, even people inside the party acknowledge that.
I think their primary currency was shaming and scolding and talking down to people and telling them, hey, I know better than you, or you're dopes, or you're a bro, or you're ignorant, or, don't you, how can you be this dumb? I can't imagine it. Like, and then by the way, they're fascists. How can you vote for that? And, when you're in a state like Pennsylvania, like I know and I love people that voted for Trump, and they're not fascist.
It's almost like trying to claim that anyone who disagrees with you is fascist is in of itself fascist. I know, mind-blowing, right? It's really hard to fight the algorithm and get the truth out there as a small channel. If you guys can hit the like and subscribe button, it's a free little way just to help me out. I appreciate it, guys. Well, whether they accept it or not, the universe is getting ready to teach them, because not only is Letitia James and Alvin Bragg under federal investigation from the DOJ, not only is Fannie Willis under both federal and state investigation in Congress, on Saturday, President Trump stripped the security clearances of at least 8 corrupt antagonists who worked for Biden and targeted President Trump for ruin over the last several years. And wait till you see one of the names on this list, because Kash Patel is cheesing right now from ear to ear. Oh man, no more security clearance for Alvin Bragg or Letitia James. I wonder how it feels to wake up in the morning knowing you've got multiple bodies, including the federal government, investigating you. And now your security clearance has been stripped, and now you're barred from entering federal buildings, as well as a paper trail connecting you to Biden's DOJ. Anybody remember Matthew Colangelo? He was the Biden DOJ prosecutor, one of the top, that literally the same day that Jack Smith was appointed as special counsel, which was only 3 days after Donald Trump announced his campaign. Colangelo goes from investigating Trump as part of Biden's DOJ to prosecuting Trump as part of Alvin Bragg's district attorney's office.
Right.
The crazy thing is, all of this lined up together. So when Trump announced his campaign, Biden's DOJ is prosecuting him, Fannie Willis is prosecuting him out in Georgia, and then Alvin Bragg's office is prosecuting him from New York. So he's got federal charges, state charges in Georgia, state charges in New York, all coming at him, all related to one another. And now we see paper trails connecting all of these offices, communicating with each other. But we're still just supposed to believe that cutting their security clearance and barring them from entering federal buildings is just an immature billionaire getting his payback and his revenge.
Facts. Facts.
This blew my mind when I saw it this morning. Believe it or not, things are getting so much worse for Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, Jack Smith, Matthew Graves, Fannie Willis. I've been making the predictions, and I've been seeing in the comments, where are the arrests? When are the investigations going to start? And I don't blame you guys, but they just started today. Well, I guess technically yesterday when the Senate confirmed Pam Bondi to lead the Justice Department. Dude, she hit the ground running on the agenda, just like Donald Trump did, making all kinds of moves.
Pam Bondi was sworn in as Attorney General Wednesday. During her confirmation, the first that President Trump attended in his second term, she promised to, quote, make him proud. And she wasted no time getting started on his agenda. CBS News has confirmed that Bondi will issue several directives to the Justice Department to, quote, combat weaponization of the legal system, end quote. Those include ending the moratorium on federal executions, halting federal funding for sanctuary cities, and terminating DEI programs at the Department, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. She will also start a group to review Biden administration law enforcement policies. This was first reported by Fox News.
It's interesting having all these different agencies move on the agenda in ways I did not expect. I would have never expected the DOJ to be involved with the dismantling of funding for sanctuary cities, but I guess you have to have lawyers to battle in court as these judges are filing injunctions.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, they're really fighting against. I found it. A chief judge from New York explaining exactly how Alvin Bragg and Letitia James effed up.
I have very little doubt that this matter will be reversed on appeal and based upon these issues.
If you've got people in your lives that are caught up in the Trump prosecutions, Trump's a felon, this is the perfect video to send them. This video breaks down exactly how they violated due process and exactly why you can expect election.
I'm gonna let this play. I need to get dressed.
Kelly Armstrong, who literally just a couple days ago won his gubernatorial race for North Dakota, interviewing New York Chief Justice Rowan Wilson, going over all of the details of how due process was violated during this New York hush money trial. There's no reason to make this longer than it needs to be. They go over everything in this interview. Let's jump in.
Yes. This committee. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Gentleman from North Dakota is recognized for 5
Thank
minutes.
you, Mr. Chairman. And I very much appreciate the questioning from my friend from Texas. She's one of the few other people that has actually practiced criminal defense and public defense. And as somebody who's done that for a very long time, I appreciate that very much. I never did practice in New York. I also have practiced in federal court, and I've practiced in state court and passed several bar exams as well. Judge Wilson, what's the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor in New York?
1 year.
When was this? What is the business records case is a misdemeanor, correct?
The underlying crime, the falsified business records, yes, that's a misdemeanor charge.
So the only way to get to a felony is by committing it, or is by in concealment of another crime.
Correct.
And each one of those crimes has specific elements.
That's right.
And you have to prove, in order to get a conviction at trial, you have to prove every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, right? That's just traditionally how this works.
That is the right way to do it.
So in the indictment, did they put the underlying crime?
No, they did not. They only described it as other crime.
Is anyone stopping to think how he's falsifying business records to cover up a felony that he's never been charged with? He has never been charged with the underlying felony that his business records are supposedly trying to conceal. One much discussed question, for example, is that Manhattan District Attorney Bragg's case charged Trump with a felony records violation, but he did not specify until his closing argument what other crimes the records violations were designed to conceal.
Exactly.
Moreover, Judge Machon's jury instructions told the jury that they did not need to agree on that question, but instead that they only had to agree on the violations that were designed to conceal a crime.
Okay, and in the jury instructions, did they put the specific underlying crime?
No, the falsifying business records was described in the jury instructions. There was some brief description of the New York State election law violation, but there was no description given of the choice of three crimes. There was a description given of falsifying business records, which was pretty ironic because it was falsifying business records to falsified business records.
So, and that's also a misdemeanor, right?
That should be, yeah.
So you have 2 + 2 = 6. Like if you commit 2 misdemeanors, you get to the felony statute of limitations, which they had to get or they could have never brought the case.
That's correct. But there's some more question marks regarding the statute of limitations. It's not cut and dry because the time that Donald Trump spent out of New York could be used to toll the statute of limitations. That was the ruling in the Court of Appeals Harvey Weinstein case. He argued that the time that he spent out of California should not have tolled it, out of New York, that is, in California, should not have tolled the time limitations. But the Court of Appeals ruled against him on that issue. So that's, I think, how they get around the statute of limitations problem in this case.
So was the election law case a federal election law or state election law underlying crime?
Seemed like it was charged as both. When we got to the jury instructions, there's a violation of New York election law charged, but then there's one among the three charges underlying is an unspecified violation of federal election law.
And then the third one was tax violation, right?
Also unspecified.
You are okay.
So all three of those underlying crimes have significantly
Okay.
different
I'm
elements
on
of
my
the
way.
crime.
That is correct.
Were any of the elements of those crimes listed?
No.
You
not at
need
all.
it now?
So, this is important, and it might not be as robust or anything, but when you defend a client in court, if you don't know what the elements of the crime you're defending, how do you mount a defense?
You can't. That's the very issue of fundamental fairness that I referenced. You, as a defendant, are entitled to know what the charges
gonna
are
go
against
both
you
of
so
them?
that you can defend against those charges. Donald Trump was never made aware of what the extent of the charges were against him until the end of the trial.
And the elements of the crime go in the jury instructions. I mean, traditionally, that's how it works. Federal court, state court in North Dakota, state court in Minnesota. I've been in all of these different jurisdictions. You actually get the elements of the underlying crime, correct?
Any time that I instructed a jury, I instructed them what the elements of the crime were.
And instead, in this case, they got a grab bag.
They got a choice of three when it came to the underlying crimes, and we don't even know which ones they chose. So we don't know whether or not they could have been unanimous on those three or not. That's another failing of the jury instruction.
So not only did we have not the elements of the crime, but we had three different crimes with three vastly different elements of the crimes.
All unspecified.
None of them in the indictment. The
Wow.
elements of the crimes weren't in the bill of particulars. Last hearing, I had the bill of particulars waved at me like it was some kind of magic document that flew in here with its own cape.
So the statement of facts only describes a series of allegations, a series of actions that it's believed that Donald Trump took. None of them describe any criminal activity. None of them describe any, they don't describe any elements of any crime.
Facts.
And that's why you believe, as do I, that when this goes on appeal, there's going to be significant legal issues to argue that the jury never actually got them put in front of them.
I have very little doubt that this matter will be reversed on appeal and based upon these issues.
Because I've actually been I believe jury trials are still the best way to determine guilt and innocence. I just believe juries are only as good as the information put in front of them. So, and with that, I yield back.
That is the chief appellate judge informing the Senate Committee on the Weaponization of Government that Alvin Bragg and Letitia James broke the law and they can't answer for this election interference. Letitia James is trying to fake like she's Resistance 2.0 right now. Check it out. RFK called out Bernie Sanders' hypocrisy at his confirmation hearing. Check it out, guys.
Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. Please hit that like.